And we are live. What's good, your man? DL Saint with you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I really want to know podcast, man. How y'all feeling out there? How y'all feeling? Um, yeah, what we got to talk about is serious, bro. You guys know I'm always talking about law enforcement. Um, this latest thing, well, this is weeks old, but the information is starting to come out now. This is very bad. This is very bad in so many ways. And we just got to talk about it, y'all. So let's get into it. And we are live. What's good, y'all? Welcome, welcome, welcome to the I Really Want to Know podcast, y'all. Get some indeed, brother Pablo in the building. What's good, fam? I knew the Saint will be commenting on this. Absolutely, I'll be talking about this. Like this is bad on so many levels. This is horrific. This is sad. This is preventable. I mean, there's so many things going on here. And before I get into it, I am not coming from a racial standpoint. I'm just not. I don't plan on even touching on it. If someone else jumps up here or someone makes a comment about that, whatever, but I'm not coming at it from that standpoint. But I'm really coming at this thing from a responsibility, accountability side of this, not just for the police officer or the sheriff involved, but for the entire system that put him in this situation that led to this. Now, I'm just going to say it up front, right off rip, man. This guy's going to prison. This sheriff deputy, he's going to prison. Everyone in his department knows he's going to prison. The prosecutor, via the state prosecutor or federal prosecutor, whoever catches this, they know he's going to prison. There's just no way around it. There's just no way around it. And if that's not the outcome, oh boy, that's not the outcome. So what am I talking about? Everybody like, what are you talking about, bro? So there's a senior airman, which is an E4. Shout out to Brother Glenn. He was breaking down Air Force rank to me. A senior airman was shot and killed by a Florida sheriff. This was about a couple weeks ago. We're about to get into it. We're going to read the article. The body cam footage is out there. In fact, that's what I meant to do. Let me find a body cam footage, and I'll post it in the chat, and I'll also post it in the bio so you guys can check it out. I'm not going to show it. I'm not going to show it because I know, because YouTube ain't that. YouTube don't like the content I put out anyway. I'm not trying to get them any reason to shut me down or snatch another 150 subscribers. I'm not trying to do that. So the body cam footage is out there. See if I can't find it. See if I can find a better, because I saw one and I sent it around. Let me find a better one. This might be it. No, here it is right here. So let me just post this to the chat so you guys can check it out. If you want to check it out, go ahead. As always, man, this is the real deal. This is body cam footage of someone being shot to death. So, trigger warning, discretion advised, whatever they're saying right now. And in the body cam footage, it shows the police officer as he rolls up on the scene. And we're gonna, what I'm gonna do is actually watch it in the background and kind of give a commentary if you want to watch it. So when you watch it, play this back later or something like that. But there was so many things, and this is I've never worked in law enforcement. I've never been trained as a law enforcement officer, but I do have training. Again, as a soldier in the United States military. I understand rules of engagement. I understand certain things, bro. I understand a threat versus a non-threat. And bro, I'm here to tell you, man, that training is the answer. Law enforcement needs better training. I'm not saying this stuff will go away completely, but it will absolutely cut down on the number of instances. And the fact that cops are wearing body cams, they can't get away with it. This isn't nothing new to me. I've been seeing this kind of stuff my whole life. The difference is the technology has made it to where cops can't circle the wagons. Give us the body cam footage. Let's see what happened. You know, and that's where we are right here. What am I doing? One second, guys. You guys gonna hear me kind of blah blue on, but I'm focused on doing something because I'm adding something to the bio, the description below. And yeah, so just bear with me, man. Cause y'all know I can't type to save my life. There's certain things I could do and talk at the same time, but typing ain't one of them. So there it is. It's in there. All right, so that's done. That's in there. Okay, I got that there. It's just crazy. Base Oracle in the building. What's good, fam? Let me post this to the chat as well. If you guys want to go watch the body cam footage, there it is right there. Oh, I posted it twice, looks like. Yeah, I posted it twice. So there it is right there if you guys want to check it out. You know, this is just terrible. This is just terrible. And again, this law enforcement official, this guy is definitely gonna catch a case. He's definitely gonna do some time. The question is, you know, what charge and how much time. So let's get to the article, man. CNN dropped something a few hours ago. And let's check this article out. Kind of talks about what happened. All right, so let's kind of get into this. Florida sheriff released body cam footage of airman fatally shot in his apartment by deputy. Right now, this is today at 5:33 p.m. Eastern time is when this came out. They got the one lawyer who always handles the racial cases. That guy's like he chases ambulances or something, bro. So the Florida Sheriff's Office publicly released body cam footage from the deputy who fatally shot black airmen in his home last week, and disputed claims from the victim's family that the deputy had gone to the wrong apartment. Okay, so yes, that is the initial story that came out was the deputy went to the wrong apartment. There was stories that the deputy entered the apartment, i.e. kicked the door in, saw the guy and lit him up. So we get to see exactly what happened. It turns out that both of those weren't true, but when you watch the body cam footage, in fact, we can watch the body cam footage. We just won't watch the part where the gun goes off, right? So Okaloosa Sheriff County Eric Aiden showed the video during a Thursday news conference shortly after the attorney for the 23-year-old airman's family called for its public release. The victim has been identified by his family as Roger Forston, an active duty senior airman, according to attorney Ben Crump, who said at an earlier news conference Thursday, the family was set to view the body cam video early this afternoon. Crump had called for the public release of the body cam footage, saying a witness believes the deputy was at the wrong apartment. The circumstances surrounding Roger's death raises serious questions that demand immediate answers from authorities, especially considering the alarming witness statement that the police entered the wrong apartment. Crump said in a statement, citing the account of the person who was on FaceTime with Forson at the time of the shooting. But the sheriff disputed that claim. CNN has reached out to Crump from comment. And yeah, I mean, in the video, the person who made the complaint, who reached out to law enforcement, told the sheriff deputy that the apartment number was like 1401, I believe it was. And that's the apartment that the sheriff's deputy went to. Now we're gonna, like I said, we can watch the video all the way up until the point where the weapon was drawn. But it shows how difficult law enforcement jobs can be, but it also shows poor training and what's really going on out here in these streets. Those statements were inaccurate. Let's see, what we do know at this time is that the deputy did announce himself, not once but twice. Let's see, Mr. Forson's comments indicate that he did acknowledge it was law enforcement at the door, and he arrived at the door with the firearm in his hand. The deputy knocked on the correct door. He did not cover the peephole or otherwise obscured its view in any way. Now, okay, when you watch the video, you can clearly see that the deputy knocks on the door and the deputy moves out of sight of the peephole. You can clearly see it. And there's some time there. So we're gonna watch the video and we're gonna see. So of course the sheriff department is gonna want to take care of their own for whatever reason. Of course, the lawyer for the grieving family is gonna want to take care of that family and for whatever reason. Right. So you got this side of the story, you got that side of the story, and then we're gonna see what actually happened in between. So and again, I have my take on it. I really don't believe that this officer is gonna not get arrested, not get charged and convicted of a serious crime here. The sheriff said that he asked for the Florida Department of Law Enforcement Division to handle the criminal investigation as is required. While this is a criminal investigation, no determination has been made as to whether the deputy's actions were justified or not. What the body cam footage shows, I'm wondering if I'll pull up the body cam footage. We'll do that. I'll pull up the body cam footage and then we'll come back to the article. Based Oracle. I would not want to be a cop today, nor someone dealing with a cop. That's a fact. And this is why this is so horrific. Because this just made a really, really difficult job more difficult. To the point where it's like, I wouldn't, who want to deal with this? Who would want to deal with this for a little bit over minimum wage? Who would want to deal with this, man, for $20 an hour or whatever? Who would want to deal with it? So I'm going to pull up this video so we can watch the vast majority of this footage. We're just not going to watch the end where the weapons were drawn. On a spot, live is in the building. I am single one. What's good? What's good, sis? Appreciate you. Yes, please come in with a like. Please come in with a like if you don't mind. So we're gonna watch this all the way as long as we can. Again, I don't want to get in trouble for TOS and show violent acts or whatever. So we won't show the part when the door does open and what happens immediately after, but we'll show everything leading up to it. So let's get into it. Turn and go. There's law enforcement. He's pulling up. Looks like it's an apartment complex or some such. Looks like a nice place. Decent. I don't know this area. I don't know where this county is. He walks up to the office, right? So you get a call, you go up to the office. He's going to go in here and ask some questions.
What's going on? I'm not sure. I just was told to let her know if you guys come by. So I'm going to give her a quick call. So there was a fight going on or something? I was not ready for that.
So the officer comes in and he goes into the office because I think this is an apartment complex. He goes into the office and he's like, "Hey, what's going on?" Basically, "Hey, I'm here. What's going on?" Guy's talking to like, "Hey, how you doing?" "I don't know. I was just told if you were to show up to make a call or something like that." Officer, the sheriff says, the deputy says, "Hey, is there a fight or something like that?" He's like, "Man, I wasn't present. I don't know." So the guy's like, "I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on." Appreciate that. Appreciate that, sis. Trigger warning. Yeah. No violation of terms of service, but some viewers might find video upsetting. We're not going to show the very upsetting part, but yeah, if you find conversation upsetting, you have been warned. So let's continue. So they're coming out of the office, they go back. So they're trying to find the person he's supposed to be talking to. I'm assuming someone from the office is escorting him in the right direction. Okay, you need to go talk to this person. And he says, hey, was there fighting or something?
Okay. Okay, which door?
I'm not sure, 2 weeks ago, I was walking by their apartment, basically, on this side, and I was hearing someone yelling, stupid B word on the phone, like right after it, but I wasn't sure where it came from. And I couldn't call it, I didn't want to call it the police.
Which room is it?
1401.
All right, so law enforcement is there. He finds the person who actually made the call. So he's talking to the person. I don't know if this person is employed by the property. I don't know if this person is a manager or something. I'm assuming so, but I don't know. I can't tell. So this person is telling the law enforcement, telling the deputy, hey, yeah, was there a fight or something? Well, yeah, a couple weeks ago, we were hearing like these loud arguments and they're calling, his names, the B word and, F words. And, it was just really, really loud. It was 2 weeks ago. I don't know if I should call the cops, but but apparently it's, this is what she's telling this deputy. So the deputy gets to the main office. No one knows about any kind of disturbance. The deputy encounters someone there, some female, who I don't know if this person works with the office or not, but it appears that this person made the call to law enforcement for disturbance. And this person told the deputy the unit number, 1401. So the deputy is here. He's on the scene by himself. And he has the room number and he's been told that there's some sort of disturbance. And he knows to go to unit 1401.
But the girl sounded scared when I called. She was like, saying that, it sounds like it's getting really out of hand.
So it's number 4 now. Okay. We stand out there and direct the deputy that's coming through this area.
It's not, you're gonna go up to the fourth floor, it's gonna be on this side.
Gotcha.
So that bit right there, it seems like someone else called this woman. So it doesn't seem like the woman is speaking, witnessed anything, just going off of a phone call received probably from another tenant that says they're hearing all this argument. And, again, terms like the girl sounds scared. Again, we heard these, the B word, the F word, and all this other kind of stuff. Again, talking about something that, because it's like, okay, did this happen 2 weeks ago? Or is this happening right now? The deputy isn't really asking any questions. He just wants to know what the unit is. And he's thinking there's some sort of disturbance of some sort of fight between two people, and it's possibly a male and a female. So he doesn't have a lot of information. Or like I'm listening to this and I'm like, bro, you don't know what's going on. You still don't know what's going on. So the person who was escorting the deputy says it's on the 4th floor, tells him which way to go, the unit number 1401. The deputy asked her to stay outside to show backup where to find it. Right. So rather the deputy's like, well, do me a favor, stay down here. There's going to be another car pulling up. Can you, bring them, show them where we are. So, okay. He knows backup is coming, or maybe he requested backup, or I don't know, maybe this is protocol procedure in this region or whatever. I don't know. Maybe he's scared. There's been a lot of law enforcement officials getting shot here lately, a lot. So maybe he's scared. Maybe he's like, you know what? I don't want to go up here by myself. Domestic violence calls are the worst in law enforcement. That's where the most damage happens. He's like, I'm uneasy about going up here. Now, if that were me, if I'm uneasy about doing this, I'm going to wait for backup. Maybe go up to the 4th floor, get out of the elevator, see if I see anything or hear anything. That's what I'm thinking. Like, all right, I don't see nothing. I don't hear nothing. If I'm worried, I'm going to wait for backup. I would imagine. If I'm, it is what it is. Brother Flow State is in the building. What's good, fam? So I had a buddy who was an auditor come to town last night, and we spent hours driving around Kansas City looking for cops. Right, bro? Hey, man, they ain't trying to get chopped up, bro. People, it's tough out here for cops right now. Brother Pablo, the woman should have called 1401 first and asked if everything was okay. Yeah, that's a good point, man. Perhaps. So again, we're just having conversations. We don't know anything about procedure with law enforcement. We don't know anything about procedure with this property. We're not even sure if this woman is with the property. Probably not. We don't know. But we do know that the deputy asked her to stay on the ground floor to guide in his backup. All right, so here we go. Deputy's he's in the elevator, he's going up. There's no chatter. He's not talking to anybody on his radio. Not at this point. There's the call. Now listen, he's out here. He's trying to find a unit. Not hearing anything. He's walking, not hearing anything. Seems pretty quiet to me. All right, here's the apartment. Here's the unit. 1401, here's the unit. So he's standing there, he's looking, right? We pause it right there. He's standing there, he's looking at the door, whatever. There's cameras on the door. What is he doing? He's listening. He's listening. What is he listening for? Sounds of struggle, arguing, elevated voices, whatever. Just listening to hear whatever's going on. He's just listening right now. We're not hearing anything. He's probably not hearing anything, right? Is there anyone even there? Is anyone home? What's going on? Right? Let's continue. Still listening. All right, he knocked on the door, right? Normal knock on the door, just boom, 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 knocked on the door. Not even the heavy boom, 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 open up, please knock. Just the knock on the door. He knocked on the door. He got there, he listened, he knocks on the door. Now, pay attention to what he does now. He's walked away from the door. He's walked away and he's turned around, right? Look where he's standing. Look where he is standing right now. He took a couple paces away from the door. Why would someone do that? Well, if there's a bad guy or a guy, any guy with a weapon on the other side of the door, they can tear you up through the door. There's plenty of videos of people out there. Matter of fact, in Florida, there was a woman who fired her weapon through a door because a neighbor came to ask her about something that was going on with the kids and this particular woman. She came to her door with a weapon, fired through the door, shooting and deleting the woman who was knocking on the door just to ask questions about what happened between this other woman, the woman with the gun, and the children. That happened in Florida not that long ago. So if you're law enforcement, right, you're sitting there, right? It's like, man, this could be a domestic violence call. Anything could be going on inside that door. I just knocked on the door. Remember, he knocked on the door. He didn't say anything. He just knocked on the door. Then he walks away from the door. He's no longer squared up with the door. When he knocked on the door, he was squared up with the door. He walked away from the door. Right? He's a pace, maybe 2 paces away from the door. If someone were to come and look out the peephole, they're not going to see anything. There's no one in the line of sight of the peephole. So it's knock on the door. There's no one there. How many times have you heard a knock on your door and go to see if anyone's there and no one's there, right? Someone knocked on the wrong door or whatever, right? And if you don't have a ring, because back in the, I don't have a ring, but those ring cameras, you can look on your phone and see who it is. But law enforcement knocked on the door. He walked away. Some would say can't hear nothing. All right, so that part right there was like something was happening. You couldn't really tell what it is. It sounded like you heard something. What did he hear? Maybe he heard something on the other side of the wall, like someone's at the door, someone's here, whatever, right? Now, when we get into the article, it's going to talk about the airman who was on a FaceTime call with his girlfriend. So remember that, that's going to come up. So now the police officer comes back to the door and he knocks again. This time he says sheriff's department. He says sheriff's office. He knocks on the door. He says sheriff's office, but he's still out of the line of sight of the peephole. Out of the line of sight. Now he can be seen by the peephole. And I'm going to stop it there. I'm going to stop it there because once the door opens, it gets loud. So the sheriff came up, he knocked on the door, then he walked away from the door, right? So we don't have body cam of what was going on inside. Now the guy, the airman was on a FaceTime call with his girlfriend. I don't know if that could be retrieved. I don't know if those are automatically recorded and kept or something. So I don't know if that FaceTime call can be retrieved. I don't know if that's possible, but he's on the phone with his girlfriend. So keep that in mind. Now let's go back to the article. Because the article is gonna talk about what the body cam footage shows, and we just watched the body cam footage. Again, I wanted to make sure to stop it before we got to the part that got real loud, and it was fast, y'all. When that happened, it was loud, it was fast. And I have a bunch of questions about that. So the body cam footage shows deputies responded last Friday to an apartment after receiving a call for a disturbance in progress. So the call was for a disturbance in progress. It was supposed to be going on right now. Hearing sounds of a disturbance, a deputy reacted in self-defense after he encountered a 23-year-old man armed with a gun, and after the deputy had identified himself as law enforcement, right? This is what the sheriff is saying. The deputy shot the man who later succumbed to his injuries. The deputy involved in the shooting has not been identified by officials. The deputy has been placed on administrative leave, the sheriff has said. So the sheriff department is saying, the deputy came, he knocked because he got a call of a disturbance in progress. He knocked on the door. He identified himself. A man with a gun opened the door. The sheriff deputy, used his weapon to shoot the guy. Now, it's not illegal to have a gun, right, in America. It's not illegal to bring your weapon to the door and open the door. It's not illegal. Now, it's going to be a lot of talk about, was that smart? Was it this? Was it that? If you go watch the video and you see what happens when the door opens, the weapon was pointed down, right? And I'm real curious as to if that weapon even had a round chambered. My money is that airman probably didn't even have a round chambered. The weapon was pointed down. The officer, as soon as the door opens up, because the guy, the officer was screaming, open the door, sheriff's department. The guy opens the door. The sheriff's deputy fired. The guy fell, and then the sheriff deputy said, put the gun down. So he fired, striking the man multiple times. The man falls, the airman falls, and then the police officer says, drop the weapon. To me, that's backwards. That's backwards. And there's normally steps before you get to lethal force. Again, I've never been trained. I've done enough training and been around enough people. There's steps before you get to lethal force. Generally speaking, you put your hand on your firearm. You're given instructions. If they're not complying with your instructions, you draw your firearm, but it's still pointed down. You draw your firearm. They're still not complying with instructions. You remove the safety unless you have a Glock. There's no safety. And then you raise your weapon. Now you're ready to go. But I was watching that part where the door opens, and I can't tell if the deputy drew his weapon from his holster or was the weapon already unholstered. I couldn't tell. That would have to be in some sort of report. And a lot of people are like, well, what's the big deal? That's a huge deal. Because this weapon came up so fast. I find it hard to believe that he pulled this weapon from his holster. It was a holstered weapon. Removing the secure strap to keep that weapon in there, like it's a little strap you got to undo to pull those weapons. You know, pull your weapon out of your holster, removing that, drawing your weapon, bringing your weapon to bear, and firing. It was, man, if he drew his weapon from a holster position, damn, that was fast. If I'm thinking his weapon was already unholstered, that's a big thing. And the person he's looking at has a weapon, but the weapon is facing the ground. The weapon is pointed down. There's time to say something, drop the weapon. It's time to say something. But let's continue. The body cam footage dated May 3 begins at roughly 2:48 p.m. with the deputy arriving at what appears to be an apartment complex. A woman at the complex is heard telling the deputy where the disturbance in apartment 1401, or there was a disturbance in apartment 1401, and that it was getting loud. I'm sorry, I'm reading what's not there. It was getting out of hand. Sorry about that. It was getting out of hand. And we heard what she said. She walked up and she was talking about what happened 2 weeks ago. And she was talking about maybe I should have called law enforcement back then, but I didn't. She was saying that the woman on the phone sounds scared. So, okay, what woman was on the phone talking to you? Was this woman in 1401 or was this woman in another unit? So again, the sheriff's deputy didn't really know what he was going up against. In his mind, he's looking for a disturbance in progress. Like he said, when he walked up to the people in the office, is there a fight? That's what he's looking for. When he gets to the unit, you don't see anybody out there. There's no noise. There's no evidence around it. There was some sort of struggle or disturbance. You're standing outside the door of the unit. You can't hear anything but birds chirping. He's going to have a hard time explaining himself on this one. And yeah, I know it's tough, guy, but this is the job. You want to be a police officer. This is what it's about. The same woman tells the deputy she previously walked by the apartment and heard yells and a slap, but added she wasn't sure where it came from. The deputy takes the elevator to the 4th floor and knocks on the door 3 times. The apartment number 1404 is visible in the footage. He announces himself twice, saying, "Sheriff's office, open the door." There is nothing heard on the footage from inside the apartment. Remember, when he first knocked on the door, he didn't identify himself. He knocked on the door and then he walks away. Right? He knocks on the door. This is the peephole, right? This is the peephole. He knocks on the door and then he does this. When you look out the peephole, what do you see? Nothing. Where was the police officer? He was standing next to the door, but out of the line of sight of the peephole. Then he knocks again and says, "Sheriff's office." Then he knocks a 3rd time and says, "Sheriff's office, open up." That's what it's in the video. Now, CNN doesn't, I'm not getting on CNN for not putting each and every little thing in this article. I'm not getting on. You can see that for yourself. That's the whole point of having body cam. Right? Within seconds of the apartment door open, the deputy says, "Step back," and then seen firing his weapon. Fortson is seen standing at the door with his hands down and what appears to be a lowered firearm in his right hand. He immediately falls to the floor as the deputy fires. At least 5 shots are heard. While Fortson is on the floor, the deputy yells, "Drop the gun," twice. Fortson is heard saying, "It's over there." And then, "I don't have it." Now, I couldn't make that out listening to the video. You probably go back and watch it again, but it did appear, because I did run it back a few times, it did appear that the airman was armed and his weapon was pointed down. I can't push back against that. It did appear that way. And yes, I do recall in the video the deputy saying, "Step back." So The deputy says, open the door. The guy complies. He opens the door. The deputy says, step back. The guy steps back. Then the deputy fires. He fires first, striking the guy, and then says, drop the gun. The deputy continues to point his weapon at Forston and tells him not to move. While Forston remains on the floor, the deputy continues pointing his weapon and calls for EMS. Right? So when I'm always talking about law enforcement, what's the thing I'm always talking about the most? Training. Poor training, how poorly trained cops are. And there's no national standard. Who knows what type of training this guy had? Who knows how much time he spent on the range? We don't know about his background. Who knows what this guy did before law enforcement? But something like this shouldn't happen, especially in a state like Florida. Any of the southern states, any of the red states, you go knocking on somebody's door, bro, they might show up with their weapon. I can give you tons and tons of stories. As a matter of fact, I remember once, I'm asleep. It's about 1:30 in the morning. I hear a knock at the door, right? Faint knock at my door. Nah, I don't think that was anybody knocking. And then I hear it again, boom, 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 louder on my door. 1:30 in the morning. I grab my weapon and I go to the door. I look out the peephole. There are 3 sheriff deputies standing there. 3. This is in Florida. 3, Hillsborough County. I like them. They cool. I ain't had no problem with them. 3, it's a female and 2 males. Like, what are they standing here for? So mind you, my weapon is in my hand. I open the door. They're standing there like this with their hands in their body armor, which is like the standard stance for most law enforcement. The female was standing there like this. The other guy has his arms folded, and the guy on the door had a notepad. I open the door, and I'm standing there, and they're like, sorry to bother you, sir. And they start asking me questions about the community mailbox, right? And I'm like answering these questions. I'm kind of confused, right? Mind you, I just woke up. I'm half asleep. And then a few moments later, I realized I'm still holding my weapon. I'm like, oh, let me put this down. I said it. Let me put this down. They never flinched. They saw the weapon when I opened the door. They never flinched. They never reached for their weapon. They didn't touch their weapons. They didn't jump back. They didn't say, hey, put that down. Nothing. It's 3 of them standing there, and they're asking me about a mailbox at 1:30 in the morning. And I answered the questions to the best of my ability. Like, is there anything I can do to help you? And I think one of the deputies lived on the property, and something happened to his mailbox. And he just going around doing whatever. I don't know why they knocked on my door. I don't know if they knocked on other people's doors. Didn't care. When they saw me, they didn't grab their weapons and shoot me. Like, they did not. And I was carrying one of my Glocks. I don't know which one, but I had a Glock. It was unholstered in my right hand, facing down. And I'm listening to, and my finger was not on the trigger. My finger was alongside. And I'm listening to him, and we're talking, and it dawned on me, oh, I got this weapon. And I put it down. That's how it went. Uncle Saint didn't get riddled full of bullets. They weren't nervous at all. So how is it broad daylight, 4:30 in the afternoon, you go knocking on someone's door, right? And they were like, well, he identified himself as a police officer. Remember, he knocked on the door first. And we're going to get the flip side of the story, like as to what was going on inside the apartment. Forston described as a patriot and responsible young man. So this part of the article was just his family urging the sheriff department to release the video. Crump identified. Okay, Airman entered active duty in 2019. Crump identified the FaceTime caller as Forston's girlfriend at Thursday's news conference, telling reporters that the 23-year-old had been home for about 30 minutes and playing video games prior to the shooting. Forston heard 2 separate knocks at the door. He heard 2 separate knocks, right? We heard those knocks too. Heard the first knock, and the sheriff deputy got out the way. And then there was a second knock. So he heard 2 separate knocks at the door. The witness said, when no one could be seen through the peephole, Forston retrieved his gun, which was legally owned according to Crump's news release. The deputy then allegedly burst into the apartment and shot the airman. So, and this is what the attorney was putting out, right? This is the stuff that I saw initially. But we know from the body cam what really happened. Dude did knock on the door. So we have a woman who was FaceTiming with the airman who lives there, and is like, oh, there's someone at the door. He goes and looks out the peephole. He doesn't see anything. We know that this is true because the deputy sheriff got out of the way of the peephole. He got out of the line of sight. Why did he get out of the line of sight? Again, probably was thinking, hey man, if somebody shoots through this door, I'm in trouble. Let me stand over here. So that part I can see. And then she goes on to say, well, the police officer busted into the door. So we can tell from the body cam that he didn't appear to have a phone in his left hand, but he did have a firearm in his right hand. So maybe he put the phone down. FaceTime is still going. He opens the door, but she can't tell what's going on. She just hears the gunshots. And so she's thinking he must have busted in and just started shooting. So she's just giving the story from her point of view, trying to figure it out. Right. So there's the first knock at the door. He goes look out the peephole. There's no one there. He goes back because there's plenty of time for him to walk over to the peephole and then go back to his living room or wherever he was playing video games. Here's another knock at the door. He's like, let me get my weapon. Right? You know, a lot of people are like, well, why would he go get his weapon? Because he can. This way you got a firearm to protect your home. Let me go get my weapon. So he goes to retrieve his weapon, does what he has to do to get his weapon. And now he's walking back. Now, by the time he's walking back, maybe he's heard the second or third knock. Well, the third knock by this point, and he hears the deputy identify himself. Right? Sheriff's office open up. Now, mind you, he looked out the peephole. He ain't seen anybody. Anybody can say sheriff office. Anybody can say FBI. They can say whatever they want to say. Right? He didn't see anybody. Sheriff's department open up. So he opens the door. He has his weapon in his hand, but he opens the door and he sees the sheriff, deputy there. Oh, okay. Sheriff says, back up. He backs up. And then the deputy pulls his weapon and fires. After he shoots the man, the airman, he says, drop the weapon. And you can clearly hear the guy like, I don't even have the weapon. So he got shot, probably let it go right away. Like, drop the weapon. What do you mean? The weapon's over there. This man is dying, having a conversation with the deputy that shot him. So, you got the FaceTime thing. So you got to kind of string it all together. Right. And then the witness said the law enforcement responded to the wrong apartment. There was no disturbance there at that time. Crump said that in the news release, according to the lawyer, the witness said Fortson was alone at the time. Right. And according to law enforcement, apparently he was alone at the time. Deputies communicated with dispatch that Fortson had been shot 6 times with multiple gunshot wounds to the chest and 1 exit wound, according to police dispatch calls obtained by CNN affiliate WEAR. So, officer can be heard saying there was a disturbance, physical in progress, in the dispatch call. And that's what WEAR reported. But we could see from the video body cam that there was no disturbance at all. There was no yelling. There wasn't like a bunch of evidence of some sort of struggle. You couldn't hear nothing but birds chirping. This sheriff has a problem. He has a serious problem. Brother Pablo was like, how often are these sheriffs trained? Did they get the funding to be trained? I don't, that's every PD, every, district, they have their own standards. There has to be there has to be a national standard, in my opinion. There has to be a national standard, and there has to be some sort of accreditation that could be taken. It's like, oh, we're going to take your credentials, and you can't work as a cop anywhere in America. So none of this, oh, I'm going to quit before they fire me and go work somewhere else. Everyone should be trained. All law enforcement should have the same basic training and then additional training as needed wherever they go, in my opinion. But yeah, sis, it was the mailbox. 1:30 in the morning, they're coming over here asking me about the mailbox. But I answered my door with a weapon in my hand, having a conversation with the sheriff, 3 of them, and I put my weapon down. They didn't get nervous. They didn't step back. They didn't grab their weapons. They were like, hey, wait, put that down. None of that. None of that happened. I just put my weapon down. He was FaceTiming his girlfriend, so it appears he was alone. Yeah, that's what it appears, bro. It appears that way. If he was alone, why'd they call the police on him, man? I don't know. And that's, how much liability does the other person have? Because people were saying that, like, well, the woman, whoever made the call, that lady that was telling the police officer 1401 and all this other kind of stuff, she should be held criminally liable to some extent? I don't think so. I think you should be able to call police for whatever you want to call them for. But that sheriff deputy, when he went up there, is like, there's nothing going on. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to knock on the door, but again, I don't know what their training entails. Maybe they have to knock on the door. Maybe they have to ensure that there's nothing going on. Even, I don't know. I don't know. Brother Cody King is in the building. Of course, he grabbed his gun if he was wearing headphones, playing games. Cops bang on the doors like they're trying to break them down. See, and that's something I didn't even really think about. He's playing a video game and he has headphones on. That could be. Maybe he's got the Bluetooth thing where he can talk to his girlfriend and listen to the game at the same time or something like that. I don't know. But there's a lot here, right? There's a lot here, and to me, it all points to poor training, right? If it was simple knocks, no banging on the door. I mean, and then when he did identify himself, like he didn't just say hey, sheriff's office, can we talk to you for a minute? He didn't say that. He said, sheriff's office, open the door. Now here's the big problem. Here's the problem. When the sheriff office comes knocking on the door next time, who's going to open it? I'm not going to open the door. You can forget about that. If I look out the door and I see three sheriffs, same thing. If it's 3 in the middle of the night, the sheriff officers, the sheriff's deputies are outside my door knocking on the door, and I come see it's the law enforcement out there, I'm going back to bed. I'm going back to bed. And if they kick my door down, then they got a problem. Right? Why? Because I have a right to fear for my life. When you see stuff like this, like these people come in my house, man, they might shoot me. This is what's so bad for law enforcement. They're gonna have to do something to this guy, and they're gonna have to get involved in the community. I'm talking about law enforcement, man. People are looking at law enforcement as the ops, for real, straight up enemies, not just street folks, regular law-abiding citizens. I'm like, man, I don't know about these people. Did you see what they did over here? You see what they did over there? They're not trained. He's scared. I don't want to have to deal with this. There are people out there who are looking at this like, man, what are we doing here? What's going on? Are they just going to run into my home? There are plenty of stories out there of law enforcement running into the wrong home, doing all sorts of stuff. Sometimes they get information from, confidential informants that just outright lie, and then they'll build a case on it, go run into the house, flash bangs, geared up, automatic weapons, and they come in there and the people inside like, what the hell? Somebody kicks the door in, no knock warrant, you kick the door in, somebody's gonna fire at you, bro. So this is just crazy, man. Shooting calls to mind past incidents, and they go into all kind of incidents. Most of these incidents are when black people are getting shot by law enforcement. I hate the fact that they're making this a race thing. I really do. I get the racial component. Trust me, I do. But this was an airman, United States Air Force, senior airman. And this guy was just serving his country. Who cares what color he is? That he's serving his country. He's not breaking any laws. It's not illegal to have a weapon in your home. It's not illegal to go to the front door with your weapon. And if anything, you got to question the procedure here. Like what legal reason did that deputy have to even knock on the door? Like, hey, I don't hear anything. I don't see anything. Yeah, what legal reason do you have to knock on the door? He didn't see nothing. The person who said that they were, a party to or witnessed all this stuff wasn't there. Maybe he was really scared. Maybe he didn't want to do this by himself. Maybe he really wanted backup. And if that was the case, why didn't he wait for backup? You can keep your eyes on the door. We're just gonna stand right here, wait for backup to show up. Then we're gonna knock on the door. We're gonna see what's going on. Maybe he should have waited for backup. But again, I don't know what type of training they do. I don't know any of that stuff. This is while details about the shooting remain murky. The allegations that the police responded to the wrong apartment echoes other shootings in recent years. And we know that he didn't respond. He went to the unit that he was told. So that part right there, yeah, that part right there was incorrect. He went to 1401 because the woman who called for help, called law enforcement, told him it was 1401. So he went to the right unit. But there was only a man in there. There was no sort of disturbance or anything like that. And then they talk about some other stuff like in 2019. Well, my bad. Wrong apartment echo shootings in recent years in which a black man or a woman was killed by law enforcement in their home. In 2019, the former Dallas police officer was sentenced to 10 years in prison after fatally shooting Botham Jean in his apartment a year prior. The officer, off duty but still in uniform, lived on the floor below Jean, and said she approached what she believed to be her own apartment when she saw Jean inside. Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah. It was a police officer, female police officer in uniform. She goes home to her apartment complex. She's on the wrong floor. She opens up the door, sees a man standing in the apartment, and she shoots him to death. He was in his apartment. She got off on the wrong floor. She thought it was her apartment. She drew her weapon and murdered the guy. And that was the case where the judge came off the bench and hugged her after he sentenced her. She walked into a man's apartment. This is why I tell everybody to lock their doors. Make sure your doors are locked. She walks into the man's apartment because his door was unlocked. If his door were locked, then she wouldn't have been able to get in because her key wouldn't work, right? She walked into the man's apartment. He's standing there chilling, probably in his underwear, eating some cereal or something, and she lit him up. She didn't ask any questions like, hey, what are you doing here? She didn't look around and say, this isn't my sofa. Those aren't my pictures on the wall. That's not my TV. She just drew her weapon and lit him up. She got locked up. That was 2019. This dude is going to get locked up too. He's going to get locked up too. Then there was another woman was killed when a Fort Worth officer responded to what police believed to be a burglary, shot through her own bathroom window. Wow. So the police responded to a burglary in progress, gets to her place, see a woman inside, shoots her through her own bathroom window and kills her. I didn't know about that one. Officer testified at trial that Jefferson pointed a gun at him, but prosecutors argued there was no evidence he saw a gun before opening fire. The former Fort Worth officer was sentenced to nearly 12 years in prison. It's a tough gig. It's a tough gig, man. You got to get trained properly, bro. It's a tough gig. You know, and I'm pretty sure there's tons of white people who have been shot like this. There are tons of Asian people, Latino people, you know, Armenian people, Italian people. I'm sure there's tons of others who have been, you know, victims of poorly trained law enforcement coming to their house. I'm pretty sure that's the deal. But it does suck, though. Especially as a black guy, it does suck. And I'm not gonna lie to you. You think about Fernando Castile. I think that was in Minnesota. He's carrying a concealed weapon legally. He's registered. He's a law-abiding citizen, hardworking guy. Police pulled him over for I don't know, a busted taillight or something like that. And we all know what it was, man. He was driving while black. We get it. Law enforcement pulled him over. Law enforcement asked him if he have a weapon, and they also asked him for his driver's license. So he's reaching for his driver's license in his wallet, right? And he says, yes, I do have a weapon on me because that's what their law dictates. You have to tell law enforcement you have a weapon. When he said that, they fired on him. They shot him. They shot him dead. Had his daughter in the back seat right behind him. Yes, Fernando Castile. And when I heard that, I was like, bro, cops are absolutely 100% wrong in that if you ask me. But if I were Fernando Castile, I'm not telling you I'm armed. If I'm out here talking to law enforcement, if they stop me on the street or whatever, I'm not telling them I'm armed. They're going to have to find that on their own. They want to, you know what I mean? Whatever, they're trying to take me in custody, they'll find that weapon on there. I'm not going to resist, but I'm not telling you I'm armed. You're nervous enough as it is. I don't care what the law says. And you can find me for that later. Right, when this all gets sorted out. But I'm not telling you I'm not telling you. Florida, you don't even need documentation anymore. Anybody could carry a weapon in Florida. You don't even have to get the license. I have a license to carry mine. It's crazy out here, man. Your brother Pablo, he wants to know, are sheriffs trained the same as cops? It depends. I mean, they get training, but there's no national standard, which I think we need. There should be a national standard for the United States of America for law enforcement, period. In California, sheriffs are more likely county cops, and I don't think they have the same training. I know that the sheriff's department in California, all of them start in the prison system. So you get hired as a sheriff out there, you start in the prison systems, and then they bring you out of the jails and onto the street. I know a guy who's retired sheriff. As far as their training goes, I think it's very similar to LAPD, which is the rest of the cops. I think it's very similar, but they all the sheriff's department has their own academy, and I don't know what their training standards are. And LAPD has their academy. I don't know what their training standards are. And then you look at San Diego, San Francisco, Las Vegas, Miami, Tampa, Cincinnati, Nashville. Every PD has, I think they have their own standards. I don't know if it's a state thing. I don't know if they have to train to a state standard. I'm almost certain there's no federal standard. If there's anyone out there who knows law enforcement, please tell me. I'm gonna have to get someone from law enforcement on here, find out what the training looks like. But there needs to be a national standard. I mean, stuff like this, you got to drill it in their heads. Like, hey, if you take someone's life on accident, you don't get a do-over. You don't get a oopsie. We're gonna lock you up. That should be known. Like, hey, you better be good at this. You better be the best to go out here. This is how this works. You better do it by the book, or we will lock you up. Now, you're not going to want to do that for $20 an hour, but if you're doing that for, if you're doing that making guaranteed $100,000 a year plus, you might want to take that on. You might want to work real hard. You might be able to get the best of the best. Like, hey, this job's guaranteed, guaranteed $100,000 no matter where you're working. And then if you're working in the big PDs, you can be making up to $200,000 base. Something like that. Like, oh, LAPD is going to pay an additional $100,000 a year. Okay, I want to go work for them. I want to go work for New York. I want to go work for whoever. And just imagine how many people we're trying to get that job. You're going to get the absolute best of the best. Training should be really hard. Should have a real high washout rate. Something like 60, 65% washout rate. And it should be a really hard job to keep. And, cops are overworked. They're overworked on the job. Plus they do all this. They pick up, these details so they can make extra money. This is why law enforcement needs to get paid a lot of money, y'all. They need to get paid a lot of money, but it should be a very, very difficult job to keep. And the way they do their rotations, in my opinion, when you look at a month, the 4 weeks out the month, only 1 week they're on the street. It should only be 1 week where they're out there being a cop on the street, right? So you have your 1 week on the street. Week 2, you're doing paperwork. Week 3, you're available for training and going into court. And week 4, you're in a reserve status where you're just kind of hanging out just in case someone has to be pulled off the books because of a shooting or because of something traumatic, and you can go in and sub for them. But that right? So you should do something like that. Then you're constantly training, right? Your officers are available to go deal with the court system and go, do what they got to do, give their testimony or work with the DAs or whatever, right? You get that downtime where, also in that reserve status week, you're going out there, PR work, going out there, shaking hands, kissing babies, going to the schools and talking to kids about law enforcement, becoming like embedding yourself and trying to, trying to get to know the people that you're actually out there trying to police. Also doing your mandatory talks to the psych doctors and stuff like that. That should be part of it. That's part of that reserve week. Go talk to the counselors, go to the school, do career day, go out here and, we have some sort of parade or something, go to the parade and not work, but just go there, PR stuff. That's what I think it should be. Jody, what's good? I see you. What's good, Jody D? I've seen you over in Brother Base platform. I appreciate you coming over here. It's important for coppers to know constitutional rights, facts. And that should be part of the deal, like the book work, the text work, the textbook stuff. The classes should be extremely difficult. I'm not saying they need to be lawyers, but they certainly need to know the Bill of Rights. They certainly need to know, like in this case here. I mean, what probable cause did he have to even knock on the door? Now, I mean, that could be a thing. It could be. I don't know. I'm not in that field, but bro, there was nothing going on. You heard nothing. We're listening to what he's listening to, man. You ain't hearing shit, but birds chirping. There's nothing going on out here. You're hearing nothing. Why knock on the door? I can understand why you got out of the way of the peephole, But you got to understand, bro, they can't see you. You knocked on the door. You didn't say anything. You didn't identify yourself. They come looking out the peephole. There's nothing there. You knock again. Man, we in Florida, bro. It's fishy. Somebody at the door, man. I don't know. Somebody might be getting a run in here. Let me go grab my weapon just in case. When the airman got back to the door, he was complying with the instructions. You're yelling commands. Open the door, sheriff's office. He opened the door. Step back. He stepped back, and then you shoot him. You shoot him, he falls to the ground, and you tell him to drop the weapon? That's horrible training. That's horrible training. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? The process should be so tough that people like this don't make it through. I mean, it's just that simple. This guy should not have made it through. It doesn't sound like he was ready to be on the streets. And then they're going to get into his record. Who knows what else is in his record? He was out there by himself. You know, if you scared, just, you know what I mean? Ask for a partner. Like, I don't want to be out here by myself. If you're scared, wait for your backup to get there. All right, we're going to go knock on the door once my backup gets here. I mean, they do need to know this stuff. Yeah, leave people alone. I mean, I understand there's a delicate balance there. You got to do your job, but there has to be reasonable concern for someone's well-being. You have one citizen telling you that they heard arguing. You got some lady telling you, well, I heard people arguing and they were using 4-letter words. They were saying fucking bitch. And I heard a smack. You heard a smack? What kind of smack? Was smack in the face smack? Was it smack in the booty smack? Was you hearing screaming or was you hearing moaning? What were you hearing exactly? Right? What were you hearing? Did you see someone get assaulted? Why didn't the deputy ask that question? Well, hold on now. You're like, so you like, did you see someone getting assaulted? Do you know who the perpetrator was? Was it a man? Was it a woman? Who did he assault? Okay, it was a man it was a man who was doing the assault. Okay, who did he assault? It was a woman he assaulted. Do you know who the woman was? I don't know who the woman. Do you know who the man is? Well, they're in 1401. Can you tell me? Let's go in the office and find out who lives in 1401. And this is just me looking at the situation. And people are like, well, you know, you have plenty of time to look at this. Bro, these are the questions going through my mind as I'm watching the video. You went into the office. No one in the office knew about a fight. Right now, they're pointing in direction to some woman, and she's telling you all this stuff that happened 2 weeks ago. It's like, hold on, right then. Wait. I'm like, you just said 2 weeks ago. So this happened 2 weeks ago. Well, 2 weeks ago there was something that I didn't call. Maybe I should have. Okay, so why did you call today? And we're not walking upstairs. We're having this conversation. I'm not moving. Okay, why did you call today? Well, I heard something. Where were you? You heard it where? Where were you? And then they're going to be like, wait, what is this about? You're coming after me. Like, no, I need to understand what's going on before I walk up here. Did you see one person assault another? Well, no, I didn't see that. I heard what I thought was a fight and yelling, and they were saying all these words, and I heard what I thought was someone being smacked. I can't do anything with that. I can't do anything with that. If we get a call from inside that apartment and someone needs some help, or someone calls and requests a welfare check on a particular person, we can go knock on the door and do that. But you're telling me that you heard something and you think it was a fight? So this is what she told the deputy. He goes up because the deputy in his mind, he's like, well, I'm going up here to stop a fight. He gets up there. There's no fight. He doesn't see anything. And it ends with someone lying on the floor dead. How did we get from that to that? Yeah, leave people alone. Like, no victim, no crime. Here's what it is. Terrible. The bar is low for law enforcement. Now, here's the thing. I would say the bar has always been low. Technology has made it to where we see what's going on. If there were no body camera, if there were no footage, this guy would be going back to work next week. Is your word against law enforcement word? And everyone used to believe the cops, but not anymore. Richard, what's good, fam? Should the office have told the cop the guy was in the military? That's a good question. But here's the thing. Remember, everyone in the office, and again, we linked the video here if you guys want to watch the video real quick on your end. Everyone in the office said, we don't know anything about a fight. Not everyone. There was a male voice. The police officer said, is there someone fighting? And the male voice said, I don't know about that. I don't know anything about that. I was just told to direct you to so-and-so or whatever, right? So maybe, Richard, maybe, once you sit there and figure out what's going on, you're talking to this lady, once you determine that she didn't see anything, she only heard stuff. All right, you because it's like, well, hold on. You didn't see anything. I'm here because I told you there was a fight in progress. Well, I heard them arguing. Okay, who was them? And did you witness someone get hit? And if you did see someone get hit, was it an open hand or was it a closed fist? Or did they have weapons? Well, I didn't see any of that. All right, let's go to the office. Before we go to the office, do me a favor, stand right here. There's going to be another sheriff that pulls up. Tell him where I am. I'm going to go upstairs real quick, but tell him I'm up there, right? So you go up there and you look, and do everything he did. Walk up there, stand by the door, listen. Not hearing anything. I don't see anything. I'm going back downstairs. I'm checking in with my partner. Hey, man, that's what we got, bro. I'm not seeing anything. And maybe do what Richard said. Go back to the office, pull the file. Who lives in 1401? It's this guy named so-and-so. Let's open up the file. Let's give him a call. What's the phone number? Let me give him a call. If he answers, you can ask him questions. If he doesn't answer, so who's on the lease? He's the only one on the lease. So you say that there's a female in there? Well, a couple weeks ago, I saw him with a girl. Okay, does she live there? Well, no, we just have the one person on the lease. I can't. You see what I'm saying? It's like, okay, I can't do much for you. You know what I mean? I can't do anything for you. Jody, better men are needed. How do we fix that? We got to raise them. We got to raise them better. We need to take a look at our current society, in my opinion. Right? We got to raise them better. Like there's definitely a thing right now. Like, the home is splintered. You have people doing all sorts of crazy stuff. It's with all these multiple genders and stuff like that, which I don't care. You can identify with whatever you want to identify with, but let's, let's raise our children a certain way. How do we make better men? Jody, that's a good question. How do we make better men? I don't know. But I tell you this, it starts in the house. It starts in the house. And I think the kids need equal access to both parents. Ideally, if both parents live in the same house, I think that's great. But they definitely need access to both parents. I think we need men. I think we need more men in school. I think we need more male teachers just to have that balance. I think it's just way too female right now. I think we need that balance, so kids can see that. You need that male influence in school. Maybe that'll do something. I don't know. I am the single ones in the building. On a spot live, y'all. My favorite realtor. Shout out again to her. I hope the family attorney sees DL's video so they can use the birds chirping line, in front of the jury. That's all I heard, though. Did y'all hear anything else? I heard the birds chirping. That's all I heard. And he decided to knock on the door. Why? Again, I don't know how they are trained or how they're supposed to respond to that sort of thing, but I don't think I would have knocked on the door. It doesn't make any sense. I had no real reason to. There was no cause, no probable cause at all. All I have is someone saying something. So think about that. Someone can say that they hear a female screaming from inside of my home, tell law enforcement, and law enforcement is supposed to come in here and kick the door down. What if they're beating on the door right now and I can't hear because we're doing stuff and I'm listening to stuff here? They're supposed to beat the door down. So I look down, I'm in my act. If I look down and I see my door swing open, I'm going to grab my thing, which is right next to me, right? You guys know I always got one next to me, and I'm gonna deal with the threat. I'm gonna deal with the threat. And the thing is, if I show up in that situation, let's say law enforcement kicks in my door because someone said something They didn't hear nothing. I'm just here talking. They kick in my door. I don't know what's going on. I go to deal with the threat. And in that last millisecond before I send my rounds, I see a badge or something. Am I going to stop? I don't think so, because they're going to fire on me. They're going to tear me up. Now with the situations like it's them or me. You know, if I'm sitting there with a weapon, I'm like, police, what are y'all doing here? They're going to look up and see some dude with a weapon. They're going to turn around and tear my ass up. This dude walked to his door, complied with the instruction that he was given by the deputy on the other side of the door, open the door, sheriff's department. He opened the door, back up, take a step back. He steps back and gets shot. You can forget about anybody else opening their doors. And this is the bad part. This is the really, really bad part. Not just the wacko crazy dudes, the crashing out dudes in the street are going to be gunning for the police, but the average everyday Joe is going to be leery of law enforcement. Like, hold on now, because their law enforcement is scared. We know they're scared. They're going to fire at me, so we're going to fire at them. This is a bad, bad place to be, y'all. This is a bad place to be. And all of this is because, in my opinion, there's subpar training for law enforcement. That thing in South Carolina, right? You had a federal task force, which was made up of 2 federal agents and 6 local law enforcement agents, go to arrest a felon with a gun. They know the guy has a gun. It's a felon with a gun. This is against the law. We got to go apprehend this guy. It's at least 8 of us, 2 federal officers, 6 local law enforcement guys. They go to get this guy. And this guy, who they're going after him because he has a gun. They get to this dude. He pulls up his weapon. He engages these officers, this task force. He scores 8 hits and 4 were fatal. Right. So you got some guy with a gun who, from what I tell, he didn't have any kind of training whatsoever, who shouldn't have a gun. He's the bad guy. The cops show up, law enforcement, federal and local. He engages the team, scores 8 hits, like not just simple hits, but he hit. It was 8 casualties. 4 of them were fatal. That right there is poor training. That is just poor training, hands down. There's no other way to put it. Like, that should not happen. You got superior numbers, you have superior firepower, and you're supposed to have superior training. You have superior training. You can't get one guy with a gun without 80 y'all getting shot up. And then they killed the dude. They killed him. But bro, he got 4 of you. He hit 80 y'all and got 4 of you. That should never happen. That should never happen. Like, don't worry, they will investigate themselves. Shaking my head, right. They're just going to turn this over to Florida investigative arm for the state. The state going to come in and investigate this. This cop right here is done. He's done so. And he knows it. If I was this deputy sheriff, I would be getting all of my affairs in order. I will go out and get me the best attorney I can afford. You know, hopefully the union can help him out with that. I would get the best attorney I can afford. I would tell the attorney everything, get my records, look at everything, and send my attorney in there to go make a deal, man. Make the best deal you can. Because it ain't no way on God's green earth he's getting away with this. I go over all the training. Something's got to happen to this guy. Like I said, I don't know what they're going to charge him with, but whatever they charge him with, he's going to get convicted. I would just cut a deal. It's like, you have to keep us updated, DL. I'm gonna definitely keep my eye on this one. I'm definitely gonna keep my eye on this one. I've been wanting to talk about some law enforcement stuff anyway. You know, there was an incident, I think maybe 2 weeks ago in LA. You know, a LA sheriff deputy was sitting on his motorcycle. Some guy pulled up and shot him in the back and drove off. They caught the guy like I think they caught him in San Diego or something like that. just rolled up on him and shot him. They had the one in Chicago when the off-duty officer was going home and the young kid shot him up. It appeared to be a carjacking or whatever. He got caught. They caught that kid. That was terrible. And then a couple weeks before that, it was a couple shootings, I think, in Tennessee, where officer lost his life in the line of duty. I mean, it's and like these stories are making it out, right? These stories, but I need to check the numbers. I wonder who checks these things. I mean, I could be wrong, but it just sounds like more and more police officers are becoming victims of violent crime. Like, this is crazy. Is it more than normal, or is this pretty much normal? Or I'm gonna have to look into this. I'll definitely keep you posted. I'll keep y'all posted. So that's all I wanted to talk about. I didn't want to talk about anything else. That body cam video, pretty self-explanatory. Yes, the narrative was out there that the police went to the wrong unit and they actually entered the unit and engaged the guy. We could see that didn't happen, but we saw what did happen. And I think the critical thing here is the deputy knocked on the door and then got out of the way. So he was away from the line of sight of the peephole. So when the airman went to the door and looked outside, there was no one there. And then, of course, when the deputy came back, he did identify himself the second and third time, but we don't know where in the building the airman was. He got his weapon. He's walking up to the door. He hears it's the sheriff. Oh, the sheriff's out here. Opens the door like he was ordered to. Open up. Sheriff's department. He opened up, and the deputy opened up on him. Shot him to death. So that's that, y'all. Definitely gonna keep my eye on this one. Yeah, definitely gonna keep my eye on this one. Tomorrow is Friday. Normally I don't do anything on Friday, but I think I will be doing a show. I really want to talk about what George Gammon is doing out there. He's doing some really good streams on what's going down in the financial markets. He did a really good video on Donald Trump in one of Trump buildings in New York. And it's not a hit piece on Trump, but it just shows what's going on in commercial real estate right now and, why it's going to be so detrimental to the economy. I'm going to do that show tomorrow. I just don't know what time. It might be late. It might be early. I just don't know. I don't know. So just be looking for the thumbnail. I'm going to do that. And Saturday, I'm going to be jumping on Raging Tomato is doing something with Brother Glenn. I'm going to be jumping on that on Saturday at 9:15 Eastern time. Something to do with pickup artistry. So if you ain't doing anything Friday night on the East Coast around 9:15, check us out. Check us out. Raging Tomato YouTube channel. So that's it, guys. That's all I got to say about that. Like I said, this isn't something negative. I'm not a back to blue kind of guy, but I do we need law enforcement, but we need better trained law enforcement. They need to be paid better. We need to invest in our own safety. That's what we need to do. If we don't make this investment, this sort of thing is going to continue to happen until finally something's going to give, and it's going to be, it's going to be negative for everybody all around. It might get to the point where people just don't even want to be cops anymore. It'll turn into RoboCop land out there where people don't even want to be cops. Go back and watch the very first RoboCop. You know what I'm talking about. When these streets were just controlled by the bad guys. We don't want that. We're going to need a really good, well-trained, intelligent, honorable police force, bro. We need cops. So I'm going to leave it there. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Prayers go out to the families of that brave airman who lost his life. Appreciate you. We'll catch you around as well. Sad story, man. Sad story indeed. I'm DL Saint. This is I Really Want to Know podcast. I'm going to holler at y'all tomorrow. Peace.
Nothing like I've ever seen. It's just a thing of beauty.
Darn, that's the end.